Hello, good morning. Welcome to Ask the Expert, a daily series from 8:30 to 9 a.m. to help small businesses ask any questions. You can do so in the comments or hashtag QBATE on Twitter. Thanks for joining me today. My name is Jenny Tsai. I'm the founder and CEO of Wearisma. Our software simplifies influencer marketing for businesses large and small. If you need any more advice, join the official Intuit QuickBooks SMB community group on Facebook. Accountants and business experts are on hand 24/7. QuickBooks also have a dedicated COVID-19 information site. Just go to QuickBooks website, scroll down a little bit, and click on the big Learn More button under the header Support for You and Your Business during COVID-19. Well, I'd like to start off today's show by having a quick introduction on Wearisma and influencer marketing, so those of you out there can get some information, hopefully useful to your day-to-day. So I think quickly, Wearisma is the influencer software that we provide for a lot of the big and small businesses to very much identify, evaluate the influencers that are good for their objective, and then measure the outcomes so then they can find ways to improve the performances. I think everyone out there has probably heard of the word influencer. I just wanted to quickly qualify it because there's a lot of different ideas about what it represents. And to be honest, yes, there are influencers that are folks who promote products online on social media with a fee. Sometimes people think of them as YouTubers or people who take selfies, but in the end, they're much more than that. They're already changing the modern day marketing, helping brands really communicate and change the way things are known to consumers, as there are 3.5 billion social media users out there that's available. So think of influencers really as content creators, as well as subject experts with a following online. And their social followings often are very eager to learn about what they have to say, particularly about the subject. So they can range from everyday subjects like where to eat, what to eat, cooking, food and drinks, family, fitness. It's grown very popular lately, automotive, fashion, beauty, but also all the way to sort of more serious subjects like accounting, like energy, and so on. So they are, in a way, they are the modern day publishers, and typically an individual would create content either on an editorial basis or on an advertising basis as influencers. So why would you work with an influencer? The basic bottom line is that you're working with an influencer, or better yet, a community of influencers, so that you can get a community that firmly sits, and provide helpful reviews and endorsement for your business. So this is something whereby if you can build a community, a critical mass of them to discuss and showcase your product, your services, you can really drive word of mouth. And that's one of the sort of big goals. Obviously, for each of the campaigns or each of the outreach effort that you do, there could be different kinds of objective, ranging from increasing awareness, driving buzz, increasing consideration, increasing traffic, whether it's to your e-commerce site or footfall to your store, increase conversion, or simply just to have them create really beautiful content for your social media channels, for your newsletters, and so on. So these are all the different kind of objectives that brands are leveraging influencer for. And so it's quite important when you work with influencers to select them based on the objectives that you have in mind. So simply, if you haven't worked with influencers in the past, what are some steps? It's very simply, one, identify those who fit your objective. So the ones I outlined, what would you like them to do? And because of that, what kind of criteria would you evaluate them on? For example, do they need to be in your location? Do they need to have certain kind of audience? Do they need to have any kind of subject matter expertise that your target audience is interested in? And all that kind of identification process is really important for you to build that. And then you would research it, and then you would using such as the software that we provide, as well as other online research, to really understand if the influencers that you would be reaching out to, you are considering reaching out to, would be able to fit your goal. Then simply step 2, reach out to them and build a relationship. What is really, really important is to know that influencers, just like your customers, your colleagues, they're people. So, talk to them in the same way that that you would to build a relationship, to build a community. Tell them your stories, tell them what you were trying to achieve, and the way you work with them could be in the form of simply providing them with your goods and services for review. Or you can invite them to come by your for an event, for various things, depending on the social distancing aspect. Hi. Well, the home Wi-Fi. Thanks for bearing with me. So now I'm back. Just to then wrap up. Just to give you a case study. So, for example, one of our clients, they are fairly new in the beauty space, and they have a shop here in London, but they also have an e-commerce store as well. They started distributing in the likes of Boots, M&S, etc. So to get the words out from the very, very early days, they basically built an incredible influencer community group, and by reaching out to a lot of the influencers actually are not the ones that are super big, that are sort of already have an agent with their teams. They're basically massively researching individuals who are quite what they call micro influencers, so small influencers, but who very much really love the kind of product that they're building. So they're building things with some environmental angles and with various things. So they basically very much research influencers who have that interest, and who can really align with their brands to talk to their followers, and they basically gifted about, I would say, 200 influencers on a sort of quarterly basis, but ongoing. So they don't just send the gift and then never hear from them again. So basically, it's something whereby you can do that, and the great thing is they're now 5 years into their influencer programs, and a lot of the influencers that they nurture and have identified who are small are in fact massive right now. So, and the influencers, of course, because of a relationship, whilst the influencer may be working with other much bigger brands on a commercial basis, they basically are continue to talk about this brand, oftentimes completely on the editorial side. So, purely on the review side, which has garnered massive amount of their clientele. And they basically said, really their brand was built by influencers. So just a case study for you, and hopefully it's helpful. I'm seeing now the questions are coming in. So Heidi from Twitter mentioned, hi Jenny, would influencer marketing work for smaller brands with less budget? That's a very good question, and we often get asked this quite a lot. The answer is absolutely yes. I think one way you can think about it is if you are a smaller brand, when you look at a lot of the marketing channels that are there, of course, there are channels that potentially could cost quite a lot, as far as sort of traditional media is concerned. And then on the digital side, of course, you can do that. But the beauty of the influencer marketing is you can do as much or as little as you wish. So in terms of budget, you could look at what product and services you do and think about ways where potentially you could reach out to influencer that does not involve necessarily paying on a per post basis. So what you're thinking is, okay, so for example, if I was a beauty brand and I have a lot of mascaras, and I'm thinking about, I'm creating in a particular fashion, and I'm a sole founder, I'm a small business, I can go and find out influencer who would be interested in potentially looking at this, and then grow with the influencers. It may be that you work with, you gift 100 influencers, look at the ones that really appreciate your product, and then gradually you can then turn that into a more paid relationship over time, if you see that some influencers are in fact able to resonate particularly well between your product and their audience. So I would say test this, and then gradually hone in to the paid partnership, and don't start necessarily with the paid partnership from day one. I also see another question from Charlie. We're a small business looking at ramping up marketing and looking to work with micro influencers. How do you think this could work for our business, as we are an independent sunglasses company? I think that's a really good way on the sunglasses front, really, is that, again, I would, similar to the previous question, recommend that you could think about how you could identify micro influencers on a database, such as the one that we have, that look at influencers based on, I would say, three things. One is audience. So does the audience sort of work, whether it's gender, whether it's location, suits your brand? The second one is their track record. You would look at potentially, has any influencers potentially worn sunglasses in the past, with a lot of posts that potentially allude to their followers are really interested in all the content that they created with regard to your product. And when they do that, what was the engagement rate? Are the audience more engaged, or the audience actually less engaged compared to their average? And then the final one is to look at the aesthetic to see whether the influencer is very close to your brand. So I would say, if you identify, a number of influencers, depends on your time, reach out to 20, 50 influencers, send them the sunglasses if you can, or speak with them somehow to see how else you can work with them. And if they can actually review the sunglasses, and so on, you can potentially see out of that what proportion of them actually ended up creating something as a starting relationship with you, and then gradually turn that into more of an ongoing partnership if the review works well. So I would say reach out to them, and be open to building an ongoing relationship with them. Holly from Twitter: when I think of an influencer, I think of somebody on Instagram with a lot of followers. What exactly is an influencer, and what are the different variations? Yeah, that's a very good question. I think because of the term being so oftenly used in so many contexts, definitely a group of them are what I would call social, sort of your traditional social influencers. So people with a lot of followings, and then they typically talk about their lifestyles, and kind of showcase kind of what goes on in there. But how I would define an influencer is someone who has a particular influence around a certain domain, a certain subject matter. So from what we can see, you see a lot of individuals who have very strong influence, but potentially over a smaller group of individuals. So, for example, someone who could be a triathlon athlete, who documents every single triathlon race. So even if this person only has, say, 700 to 1,000 followers, but all of them are triathlon athletes, or they're just very avid runners, then if you are a sneaker company, this person should absolutely be an influencer that you consider. And then you also have other influencer types, such as those that are sort of subject matter expert, so who may not necessarily even have a lot of following, but their followings are just also subject matters themselves, and they essentially form a community where they talk a lot about specialist subjects. So we actually see a lot of influencers in the areas of sustainability, for example, in the area of accounting, on which laws have changed, for example. So it really is a wide array of group. And then, of course, you have sort of content creator side of influencers. So you have beautiful sort of photography that are created, beautiful video, very artsy kind of influencers who, really create amazing content. So that's what I would say are the different groups of influencers. Hope that helps. Alana from Twitter. Hi, Jenny. I am wanting to become an influencer as I'm gradually building my following. How do you see micro influencers developing over the next year or so? Alana, I think this is a really great time as any, but in particular, we are seeing that there is kind of there's kind of an attention shift for people watch large influencers for certain things and micro influencers for others. We've spoken to actually a lot of the consumers, and people are very people can follow or unfollow very easily, right? It's very much like, if this is my feed, I can create my feed how I would like. And therefore, my advice is, if you are looking to build on and to be a micro influencer, I can see that if you can choose what you stand for and the content you create, and if the content really speak out to a group of individuals, a community, then it could actually, in the brand's eyes, that's actually way better than a generalist who talks about everything and then trying to please everyone. So to give you an example, we have food influencers who very much, and this is actually quite an interesting trend during the COVID time, who very, very much focus on everything vegan. And the vegan related hashtag is actually growing massively within the influencer realm. And you can see a massive followings of people looking for vegan recipes, anything related. And from there, you can actually find out which aspect of it, which can actually start building up your following there, and then gradually kind of build it larger and larger. And that means that for a lot of the brands, they actually would prefer to work with influencers that are better suited for what they do, and for influencers who are truly passionate about their positioning, about what they're trying to accomplish together, and in the end, you can basically carve out an area that you can really own. So I hope that's helpful, and good luck. I also see a question from Kara. Good morning, Jenny. Our small business has hit the reset button, and we're developing a refreshed strategy coming out of COVID. The strategy includes introducing influencers to promote our brand. What success measures should we be monitoring that will tell us that paying an influencer is worthwhile? Yes, that's very that's a very good question, and we get asked of that quite a lot. So Again, I would go back to objective. So if you are looking at, if you have an e-commerce website, or if you have a particular sort of conversions that you're trying to drive, that's one type of objective, of course. If you're looking at influencers to sort of generally get your brand awareness out there, sort of more upper funnel type of things, then your measurements will be quite different. Generally, when it comes to measurement, we look at it from a number of standpoint. One is from the influencer's endorsement, how many people are they reaching? Secondly, how many engagements did they drive? So that's another measurement. The more conversion related is, what is the traffic that the influencers are able to bring? And then finally, what what is the conversions influencers are able to drive for you. It could be the number of people adding something into basket. It could be whatever clicks and so on that you're looking at. So these are all the measurements that you really can be looking at depending on your goals. There are other goals that we have also learned that our brands are looking at is, for example, how many pieces of content that they can procure that can really showcase their product in a sort of very natural way on their website, on their sort of general social media channels. So all these are all the measures that could be done. What we do, for example, on the software front is that you can basically set your measurements that you would like to track. And what it does is it automatically checks the measurements and then compute what we call some sort of value that combines the sort of measurements based on your weighting. So you can then basically learn, okay, if I invest X, what do I get from Y? So this is the sort of setup that you can do. I also see a question from Annie. Hi, influencer marketing has created a landscape and disrupted the market in the past couple of years. What is your view on the future of influencer marketing, and how do you see brands go outside the box and think about going beyond product placement and create more exciting activation? Very, very good question. I think influencer marketing has disrupted the market in some ways, but also not in others. I guess the sort of general word of mouth marketing, let's say, has been sort of as old as back in the analog days, where people just talk to each other about the things they love and sort of get the words out. I think what's happening over the last few years is because the growth of social media users is so fast and explosive, with 3.5 billion people able to access anything. I think has really changed the game. So I would say that from the evolution of influencer marketing, you're going to see a lot more creative collaborations going on with brands. So you're absolutely right. It has been very much relating to product placement, which has led to, I think, a lot of the collaboration that can appear to be not as genuine and much more sort of promotional, when the fit is not exactly right between what the influencer normally writes about and what the brand does. So that's something quite important to sort out. But going forward, we have seen our clients work with influencers in all sorts of ways. One of the ways, for example, is actually getting influencers whose followers are very much the generations or the group that the brands want to talk to from a creative capacity. So a lot of the influencer would actually look at, how a product currently potentially is showing even on other channels of the brand, thinking out loud about, given what the collection or the product kind of stands for, what sort of creative things they can do together, and even providing insights into. So we work with a beauty brand that is actually thinking about developing hair dye colors for different communities. And so they are, in fact, able to ask influencers who actually lead those communities or actually have a lot of audience in the communities what sort of things would actually work well. So I'm very optimistic about the sky's the limit. We have so many wonderful creative people out there who really know a lot about their audience and what they're looking for, and creating amazing content. So I'm confident that between the brands and influencers, it will work out really exciting ways to working together. I see Kobe from Twitter. Amazing to see you supporting brands and influencers alike. What are the next steps and aspirations you have for Wearisma in the coming years? I think influencers and brands, oftentimes they are in fact small and medium-sized businesses. A lot of them are large businesses, but a lot of them are businesses and influencers included, with their own aspirations and with their own dreams. And I think what I think for Wearisma and for us, there's nothing more we would want, but to really support and see how everyone basically grow, where we have seen over the years the brands and influencers that we work with, they've really blossomed and grown and grown and grown. So I think that's what we love doing, and we want to continue to do it. Great. I can see we have one other question from Bobby. We're a small business in dog grooming, and I found that you've shared so far today very interesting. What are the top do's and don'ts when a brand is to work with an influencer? Good question. I would say the do's are definitely, yes, research what the influencer writes and find ones that very well suits your brand. In terms of ethos, you would be very proud and excited to work together and sort of associate your brand and the influencers together, and really research that the audience, that the content fits what you're trying to do. Another do is really think about influencers not as a transaction. They're really people, and if they're really on board on what you're trying to achieve, they would be really fantastically helpful to you. We have seen such amazing relationship that blossomed over the years. Just really reach out to them, just like anyone. The don'ts are, I would say, be really controlling in the relationship, where you would say, please do this and write this. Here's your caption, just do exactly that. I want this angle. They are the expert. They create amazing content. They know how to talk to their audience. So let them do the job, and really leave it to them. So I would say give them freedom. Maybe if there's things that you definitely don't want them to do, just maybe draw the line somewhere, but give them maximum creativity if you can. That's what I would say. Great. I think I have a cue to start wrapping up. But if you have any other questions, feel free to reach us. So any questions, get in touch with QuickBooks support team on Facebook or myself on hello@wearisma.com. Coming up on Ask the Expert tomorrow is Ariona, who is a chartered certificate accountant and managing director of Majors Account, which has been nominated for Independent Firm of the Year, Greater London, by the British Accountancy Awards. Ariona has also been nominated for 3 awards for the Women in Accounting and Finance Awards in 2020. So don't miss the opportunity to get free business advice from a cloud-based growth accountant. And finally, a reminder that if you need any more advice, join the official Intuit QuickBooks SMB community group on Facebook. Accountant and business experts are on hand 24/7. And thank you all very much, and stay safe.